Back at it here, uSportsCentral. The playoff talk never stops during the
Never.
break. We're still breaking it down. Charles, it really comes down to the Sandia Matadors and La Cueva this week. We think if La Cueva can win that game, we're just doing the math in our heads.
Oh, man.
Their odds of winning the district, even with the slip-up against Monsanto, become high.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes...
They can afford one loss
Eldorado
if they
has
beat
to pray
Sandia.
for a three-way tie,
Yeah.
right? So they have to pray that Monsanto wins all their games except against Eldorado, and La Cueva loses to Sandia for it to be a three-way tie. So there's a lot of math involved, right? There's a lot of ifs and buts. It all takes care of itself eventually, but it's fun to talk about. That's
It
why
takes
we're
care of
here.
itself, but
Right.
then when it comes down to committees and selections and where people are seated,
Sure.
that's where the controversy comes in. Because now the clear cuts are easy. Oh, you won your district, you won your district. That log jam of where Cleveland should go, where Cruces should go, where Sandia or Monsanto. Now you're talking about where you place those type of teams. That's the hard part about this stuff.
It is, and
That's what I love about
we
it,
know
too.
if La Cueva can win against Sandia this week, then their odds of winning the
looking nice.
district is
Yeah.
very high.
Yeah.
That's all we can say about that. Let's move on. We're talking 3 and out here,
Okay.
Charles. Time to move on. Topics. Now we've got the top performers this week, right? I mean,
Gotta give the
week
kids
8,
love.
there was a ton of them. So listen, I'm just, I'm going to steal your thunder, and I'm going to go with my guy, Gabe Ortega. Okay?
Wait a minute, I thought that was
Cleveland
my
High
guy
School.
first.
Yeah, he was your guy first. But I love the way
Yeah.
Gabe Ortega is playing. Okay, he had a fantastic win. Listen, this was at Santa Fe. Okay, so he had a big game, but it was at Santa Fe.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's playing great football right now. That's who I have at the top of my list. What do you got?
You know what I like? I'm going to get a receiver some love. Brady Patterson. Not just because of his stats, because Easton Barrera is going to a game, no interceptions. There's a ball underthrown.
I liked it. Yeah.
He could have given up on a play, kept running, interception. And my man fought for his teammate, came back, and didn't just break the pass up.
Stole that
Stole
baby.
the pass
Said, give me that rock.
to keep Easton's record. That's what I like. I like
Easton's dirty.
when the guys fight for each
But
other.
Brady Patterson
Brady
helps
Patterson,
him.
impressive weekend. He had 154 yards, a touchdown.
All right,
Looking nice.
I'm gonna for sure steal your guy this time. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Angelo Lujan.
Yeah, he balled
How
out.
big is he for these Rio Rancho
Balled
Rams?
out. He's their all everything. He's the one guy where I think if they lost him, you could see the difference in their team because they put him everywhere. He's in the slot. He's in the backfield. He's wide. He's special teams. Those type of guys are hard to replace. I like that. So he ended up with over 200 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns. So he balled out. I like him. And I'm going to steal your thunder. Since we're stealing right now,
Don't you do it.
My vote
Don't you
for
do
Mr.
it.
Football out here, Mr. Easton Barrera, had a monster game.
Your
326, 4 touchdowns.
Your argument's
no
getting
picks
better
on-
each week.
Hey,
MVP
MVP is all about
8 weeks into the season, and the schedule that Rio Rancho's had to have 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers, and to throw 34
Yes.
touchdowns like he's thrown. I mean, your argument for Mr. Football
telling you.
is,
That's-
Gentry. It's Gentry and Bruere. I mean,
Oh yeah, easily.
it's Gentry and Bruere. They're way up here, and everyone else is fighting just to be third.
Yeah, but Easton's that one. If he goes down, what happens? They have a good backup.
How about that sophomore Dakota?
But
Yeah.
Gentry goes
No,
down, same thing's going to happen. But the fact that he hasn't turned the ball over, that has to be a huge factor in this. So, the great performers, and then let's not forget about the young man out there, Sandoval for El Dorado.
Yeah, he had a $130 on the
Yeah.
ground. He was big.
It wasn't just the yards though. It's
Against
the fact,
Sandia.
Yes, it's against the team
He's a
that
sophomore.
you're doing it against. That's very impressive.
I also want to throw a
performance.
quick shout out to Isaiah Cordova. We haven't mentioned him in a while, but Monsanto,
Yeah.
they got a beast.
166.
They've got a workhorse.
Yeah.
So Isaiah Cordova had a big game against Highland, but it was a big game. Monsanto's got to run the table if they want. I don't even want to get into it. Monsanto in District 2 6A's got to start winning
I'm
here.
glad
They're going to get a
scored
bad
points.
seed,
Yeah, I'm
Charles, and
glad
you don't
they-
want to get a
yeah.
bad seed.
But they still have a chance. They
Yes.
still get to play 2 teams that if
They
they
gotta win
beat,
it. Yeah, win it. That's all you have to do is win,
they win,
right? La Cueva,
they're
El
right
Dorado,
there.
and they'll be coasting. Okay, so let's move on. Last night, obviously, the Texans took on the Pittsburgh Steelers. All you had to,
I told you about Fitzpatrick.
I was talking to Steve Davis, and we had a gentleman's bet on the game, right? And he had mentioned that he stopped by to watch the game for the last 3 minutes of the first half. Though that's all you had to watch.
That's
is
all
the
you
last
needed.
3 minutes of the first half, because Houston unraveled, the wheels fell off, they were on top 13-0, and then turnover city. Kiesel had this awkward interception, ping-ponging off helmets the ball and
It's the
picked
beard.
it off. Le'Veon Bell. Brown is throwing for touchdowns and catching for them. I mean, things just went Pittsburgh's way. They go on a win. So where does Pittsburgh stand now, Charles?
They lucked out. If I'm other teams looking at Pittsburgh, I'm saying they had to pull out trick plays to get some points. They needed
Forced turnovers, though.
They needed turnovers that were, 9 times out of 10, Kiesel probably drops that pass, or it doesn't happen. That type of performance is rare. They put up that amount of points in about a minute 13 seconds. So that's not. You're not going to see that every day.
The
in
Texans, they're starting to show their true colors, aren't they, offensively?
Yeah.
They can't move the football. Fitzpatrick is just,
I've been trying to tell you.
he's just such a roller coaster ride. He has been his entire career. He's already been in the league for 8 years, which is ridiculous.
He's a manager. He can manage the game, but he's not a starting quarterback.
His pizzazz. I like the way he plays, with the emotion he plays with, and aggressiveness he plays with. But he's just not the guy that's going to get you over the hill. He's a good backup in this league. He's not a starter.
Yeah, he's serviceable. He's a backup. He can come in, start a few games if you need him to. But to put him as the face of your
Especially
quarterback,
coming from behind, he's not going to be striking the rock all over the field and piecing together big drives. He's not.
The Texans, you have this good defense because Pittsburgh scored on some weird plays. The Texan defense is legit. Let's not get too crazy. If I had to bet, I will go with Houston and Pittsburgh fighting for maybe that last wild card spot in that area, because I don't see them. I don't see them making the playoffs. It's hard.
Pittsburgh's in trouble, okay, because they're struggling in their own division. Look, they lost to the Browns. So they got smashed by the Browns
They're in
a
a
couple
tough
weeks
division.
ago, right? Then Baltimore's obviously playing really good
Lights
under
out.
Coach Harbaugh.
Lights out.
They're starting to figure it out. They're 5-2, and then of course the Bengals, who have slipped up a little bit, but that division is difficult.
The Bengals
for Pittsburgh
are hard to get like my finger on. Maybe because AJ Green is out and they don't have a weapon on the outside. But to go into Indianapolis and not even put up points, the Colts are good, but come on now.
Houston has a better chance, I think, and that's because of the division you just mentioned. Yes, the Colts are good, but besides that, you've got Jacksonville, and then you've got the Tennessee Titans. There's a lot of wins left there for the Houston Texans.
And I could see them stealing one from the Colts. That's the way that division is.
Right.
It's such a flip-flop type of division. But what I do know is the Steelers have a uphill battle, because that's not a good division to be trying to fight in. Baltimore looks good.
Charles, when we return, for you, the fan out there, we're going to have the NMOTSC Top 10 poll here for the 6A World. So come on back, uSportsCentral.